A story is a net. It can capture something as large as the spirit of the age or as small as the emotion of a man watching the last leaf fall from a tree. Or sometimes both, and make one a reflection of the other. That sort of sums up the beauty of the book that wouldn't burn, the first book in the library trilogy by Mark Lawrence, and what a brilliant book. Like, I cannot stress that, how beautifully written this book was by Mark Lawrence. Mark Lawrence stormed into the world with The Broken Empire and The Prince of Fools as the master of the anti-hero and the grimdark genre, and that epic gritty fantasy world. And his writing has evolved in a way that is incredible and truly beautiful. This book centers around Levia, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, a young girl from the dust who's basically watches her family slaughtered and dragged along to the big city where there's this library, and it just totally transforms her world and sets her apart. Also, Everardi is a young man who's trapped in the library. And this library is a truly magical world. It's multi-dimensional. Him and four siblings, trapped in there, and with an assistant and a soldier. It's a lot like these. I don't know, I sort of imagined them mechanical almost, but they're not quite mechanical. But yeah, that are in there, these beings that are sort of look after these children's and the tale of how these sort of separate stories connect and intertwine is really brilliant. So Levia's come through. She's basically named after a weed, and a very curious young person with a million questions to ask on everything. One of those, and basically this old soldier saves her from these sabers, and they're dragging him, or not just him and a band, but he leads them back. And she saves his life on the journey back, so he does her a favour. Instead of sending her and the other dusters to be sort of, they get categorised and sort of put in their place in life, and instead of letting them, because she is a duster, and go with the other dusters and just be put in the manual jobs, the poor jobs, the stuff we don't particularly want to do or see in society, he looked after her and sent her up to a higher place, knowing that she'd probably fail there, but she might end up just a little bit higher than where the others would wind up, as a return to that debt for saving his life. And Levia, being Levia, sort of pursued her own path and went for the goal, not knowing what she was doing or how she was going to land or what was going to happen. And found herself reaching for the highest level, which put her in the path of one of the librarians, Master Ute, who, after a bit of conflict, took her on as one of the Utelings, as another librarian assistant called her. And basically they taught her how to read and how to understand, because she's very quick-witted, very quick mind. She, good at maths and that, but not so much reading, and teaching her all the language of the libraries. And you think all the books of the world are in this library and then some. It's that almost like Terry Pratchett's The Library of the Unseen University, where that magic, where you gather that much magic and like books together and create all that information and stuff, magic occurs itself, and all libraries are secretly connected. It's that line of thought in this, and that's what it really is. There's all these different chambers and these sections and this endless library of that intertwine and interconnects. through these portals and these pools of that you can step into, but some of them are blocked for different reasons. And yeah, it's really it's so well crafted, so well thought out. And so that's Olivia's story. She goes in and starts learning she's not welcome because she is a duster. You know, these lesser creatures that live beyond the city and live out in the dust. Basically, it's pretty self-explanatory in that. So she has to sort of fight for everything she gets, but she does have some good people beside her that get placed in charge of her education to get her up to speed, and so she has good people beside her that help her, but there's the others that don't particularly like her. So she's helped along in that respect as she discovers and learns for herself. But then Everardi, I think I'm saying that too. It's funny, like you read names in the books, and I'm terrible for this. I always read names in the book, and then you hear someone else say it, and it's like, oh, is that how that's pronounced? And it's really bad. And I have I'm Australian, born Australian, in a very white town, and now live in a very multicultural town. I have a lot of friends that from overseas, a lot of Pakistanis, Egyptians, Africans, and so on. And my pronunciation of their names is generally terrible. That's just me as a person. Unfortunately, my Ocker Australian accent trips on names and things like that. So, but we'll ignore that. If you've watched any of my other reviews, you've probably noticed this before. Anyway, him and his siblings are trapped, and in their part of the library there's a mechanism where you can take books in, and all of these children were put in there at different times and then sort of spat out together at this one stage, and they're there. It's just them. It's Evra, his sister Clovis, his brother Carol, and Stavia, I think, the assassin, and there was another one, Maryland, who's disappeared. So it's really only a couple of them. He's gone. They half expect to find him dead amongst the stacks, because you can wander for days and days in the library and never, can get lost and never come back, or you can never see the same rows of shelves. It might look the same, but it's not. So there's that element. And then in their section there's these sort of like dark shadow creatures that sort of burst out every now and then from the mechanism. And they went in at different times, like generationally different times, but was spat out alone. And they just got the soldier and the assistant who helps them. And the assistant's not quite the word you use. Like it doesn't quite do everything you want, but they have kept them alive and that. His older brother is if you take a book into this mechanism, it really sucks you in. We all imagine as we read, you're drawn into that world. But this, almost like a virtual reality system for books. You take yourself and a book in, and it literally puts you in the book. And his brother did psychology, so his older brother Carol's did psychology. Clovis was war, and she watched her families slaughtered by these sabers, and so it spit her out and the book that she held just happened to be war tactics. So it spit her out, this bitter person that's seeking that war and that revenge, but she's trapped in the library. So hers is very bitter. And the other brother was assassin, and so he mastered assassinry. And Maryland, I don't remember what Maryland did, because he's not really part of it, because he's disappeared. So they talk about him, but yeah. And then Everard, he's sort of had nothing. He's nothing special. These are all these masters of these things, and they've taught him their skills and that. But he's like a bit of a bit of a master of none, sort of, that old saying. So he's got a little bit of knowledge about them all, but nothing, master of none. So, but there's this woman. He knows about this woman, this this girl that he needs to save and find and discover, and so that's sort of this his driving force. And yeah, so that's what he's looking for, but doesn't sort of know how to find her or anything. And he's got a book and tells him not to turn the page, and it sort of drives him on. And then he sort of realizes that in these pools where the assistants and that are, like, if you go in there, there might be something in there. And that's sort of when he does, Levia, who's been also exploring the greater depths of the library and getting into mischief and doing things she's not supposed to do, even though as she's advances, he runs into her as a little child. And this is where the really masterstuff of this story is. And I don't want to overtell, because you know, if you've read any, if you've listened to all my other reviews, I'm always caught between not telling you too much. You know, I want to tell you, you know, give you a reason to read, but don't want to spoil it. So, yeah, absolutely brilliant. So he pops out as a little girl, and the timeline and the shifting and the changing of the library and that, because it morphs time and the different portals and stuff like that, is done really well. It's really brilliant. So it's all I'll say about that one. Levia's world, as she gets older, you know, and more advanced in her studies, because she's quite a young girl, and then, you know, she comes into, you know, a youngish woman. The sabers that destroyed her village are heading for the city and, you know, becoming more bolder and attacks. And this is all at play whilst they're in the library and sort of in their comfort zone, and it sort of destroys that comfort zone. Brilliantly told. Like I said, Mark Lawrence came as this grimdark and thing. His writing is transformed in a way is truly incredible. He's so, this is possibly his greatest book. It's so beautifully written, and I'm going to read some stuff to show you the kind of evolution he's had as a writer into really brilliant prose. I tagged a whole bunch, I don't know if you can see, of different stuff. You know, I read one at the opening, but I've tagged a whole bunch of different stuff that are just incredible, that how underrated I think as a writer he is, you know, because fantasy writers and that tend to get lumped into that, oh, they're just fantasy, and, you know, it's fantasy, it's make-believe, you know, zombies and dragons, or, you know, elves and dwarves and blah blah blah. But there's really magic in his words, and so I'll read a couple, you know, because as we followed these before, you know what a terrible reader I am. Here we go. So don't judge me my reading. Listen to the words. And this particular one I really love. As someone that's, you know, listened to some audiobooks and done a little bit of personal study on the English language and that, I love this so much. Language changes as it ages, becoming unrecognizable to itself in just 10 generations. Our library is old, not old like cities and civilizations, but old like the mountains. Vanishingly few of its works have been written in living memory. Expect to wrestle with change. The books before you are fossils, relics of an earlier age that have survived against all odds in the face of common sense itself. I love that, like, because our language does change. It's changing now. You know, every year they agree on different words to add to the dictionary, and old words die. You know, and that's sort of a sad thing, but that's the etymology of the English language. You know, that mongrel that morphed from, you know, the Saxony language with the Norse languages and the Celtic languages, and it's so influenced by so many languages. It's always changing, and I love that line there. Just sums that up. Oh, this one is truly a beautiful line. Like all hunters, sorrow advances on slow, silent feet until the last moment, when it attacks from cover, springing with such speed that the impact rocks its victim its victim on their heels. The first sob broke from Livia violently, as if her chest had been punched from the inside. Like, how beautiful is that? Like all hunters, sorrow advances on slow, silent feet. How beautiful is that? Mark Lawrence, you know, when you read Jorgancraft way back, did you think he was capable of this kind of mastery of the words? I did not. And you know, it's incredible. It's a testament to him and his writing and how good it has got. And it started brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Where are we? It's another one I really loved. And yeah, this one's truly beautiful again. He'd read that love was when the hurts of another became yours. Every bit as sharp, even if you didn't understand them. I love that. That is love, isn't it? You know, and there is a lot of love. There is a love story in this that, you know, I didn't think Mark Lawrence was capable of, but I love that sentiment. I'm actually gonna write that down somewhere. I love that line so much. He read that love was when hurts of another become yours, every bit as sharp, even if you didn't understand them. And I think if you've ever been in love and watched someone you love go through some tragedy or pain, I think you can understand that. That's so beautiful. Oh, and then this, as a book hunter and a book nut who buys way too many books, this one I love too. It's always the books you don't have that call to you. You know that. Not the ones already on your shelf. They can wait. Yes, anyone that knows me knows I love that sentiment. I live my life by that philosophy. Again, I'm going to write that one down somewhere. That sums me up in a nutshell. And yeah, these are just some of the things that I loved about this book. This incredibly well written book. It's a genuine pain turn. It's very different to his other stuff, and I could talk about it for another 10 minutes and really get into the nuance of the play and when the sabers advance, and I really love to talk about that, but I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to take that magic away from readers out there getting to read it and experience. You know, I like you to discover it for yourself, but trust me, the book that wouldn't burn, the first in the library trilogy, it's a book you want to discover. It's, like I said, it's not like his earlier works. Mark's writing has transformed so well. It's become next level, this brilliant writer. And I loved him from the start. I remember, as soon as I started reading Prince of Fools, I was just captivated by his writing, and his evolution as a writer is incredible. Mark Lawrence, The Book That Wouldn't Burn, the first book in the library trilogy. Brilliant book. Happy reading. Feel free to give it a like and a share, subscribe and follow for more.